Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more to reach the professionals who are more likely to find your ad relevant. Plus, with 1 billion members on LinkedIn, that means you'll have access to 130 million decision makers and 10 million C-level executives. That's a lot of millions of the right people. Get started today and see how you can reach the right buyers with LinkedIn's enhanced targeting tools. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
Coming up on this episode of the Entrepreneurial You.
The hardest truth most people don't want to hear about sales. It is the easiest $250,000 a year job you'll ever have and the hardest $50,000 a year job you'll ever have. In your own life, would you agree that oftentimes the biggest changes and the most growth happened after someone asked you the hard questions?
Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's the Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
Welcome back to another episode of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. I'm your host, I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most critical skills in entrepreneurship. Sales. Yep. Whether you love it or hate it, sales are the lifeblood of any business, and no one knows this better than my guest today, Drewbie Wilson. Drewbie is a sales powerhouse who went from weighing over 300 pounds to losing 100 plus pounds while simultaneously building multiple seven-figure businesses. His mantra, call the damn leads. If you're ready to crush excuses and close deals like never before, this episode is for you. You're at the right place at the right time. First of all, welcome, Drewbie.
Thank you, Heneka, so much for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I certainly hope that the guest is ready for one heck of a show today.
All right, because I'm certainly ready, but here's what we're going to talk about a little bit. Let me just tell you. We're going to be talking about how to crush sales in 2025, even if you hate cold calls. See, sales isn't just about making calls. It's all about having the right mindset, the discipline, and strategy. Drewbie's journey from adversity to success proves that showing up consistently beats perfection every time. So today we're going to be unpacking his no-nonsense approach to sales and how he uses sales-driven strategies to win big. Yep, the mindset part. But Drewbie, before we go into the question and get it all started, what's the hardest truth about sales that most people don't want to hear? And this is our icebreaker question.
The hardest truth most people don't want to hear about sales. It is the easiest $250,000 a year job you'll ever have and the hardest $50,000 a year job you'll ever have.
Okay. My question is, I am going to, before even going to what I plan to ask you, I'm going to ask you to explain that one.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's a good, a good punch in the mouth to get people open their eyes up, because here's what I know about sales. It's not as difficult and complicated as most people make it out to be. And as you alluded to in the introduction of the show, it is the mindset and the belief that separates the people who are making, 50, 60, $70,000 a year and those who are making multiple 6 and 7 figures. It's literally just a breakdown of the mindset and the discipline that you have, because it takes the same amount of effort to get on the phone, talk to someone for an hour and close them on a $50,000 deal as it does to get on the phone for an hour and talk to them and close a $5,000 deal. The difference is the people who are willing to pay $50,000 understand the value of time and money, and they're willing to exchange their money to buy back their time. But people who are hesitant to spend their money, they're more concerned about how quickly can they get a return on that investment. And what they will do is they'll hoard their money and spend all of their time trying to learn the thing that they need to learn. And what I know, time is the only asset that we cannot get more of. We all know how to get more money. Like, we can work, we can make money, we can get loans. Money is this big figment that we can get a hold of, but time, energy, and effort we can't get back. And if you're wasting your time on things that aren't generating the revenue and the lifestyle that you want, that's really the answer there. Because if you're chasing your tail all day long, that's why you're only making 50 grand a year, because you're not focused and intentional. People who are focused and intentional, they're making 6 figures. They're making multiple 6 figures because they know what to focus on.
Time, energy, and effort is what you can't get back. And this,
Amen.
though we knew that before, like, you just brought that out and it just kind of ping, 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 just went right off, things going off in our heads. And when you talk about most people is me, don't like sales, right? I know I need to stop saying that. All of us that say we don't like sales, we need to stop saying that. So let's just talk about that mindset aspect, Drewbie, because that's where it's at. I know that.
Absolutely. And, I'm most people also. I don't want to sit here and act like I'm some super special, guru or whatever. Like, no, I am most people also. What I've learned, though, is that if I want to separate myself from who I was in the past and the life that I'm not interested in having anymore, there are certain parts of me that I have to be willing to say, I won't be like most people. And when you mention like people being afraid of sales, I think what it really comes down to is that most people don't want to be takers, in the sense of we're not born to like take from other people and be greedy. Like, that's something that develops over time. Most people want to serve, they want to give, they want to be helpful to their common man. And what I think happens in sales is people get so focused on I have to go into this conversation with the mindset of I'm going to take something from this individual, instead of going into the conversation thinking, hey, I'm going to do everything in my power to serve this person, and know that if there is some product or service that I have available to them, and I know that their problem or their desires is something that I can help them with, it's my duty to do so. And that is where I've seen the biggest shift when I'm working with, clients or talking to someone in general about when you're focused on service instead of sales, the conversations are more genuine. People are more open and willing to speak with you. And a lot of times what it is you being willing to ask questions and stop making statements.
Ask questions, stop making statements. When you focus on service instead of sales, that's where the magic happens. Now, when you talk about, that mindset, you feel like you're taking something away from whomever your prospect is or so. For me, that resonated, and it resonated in a kind of a different way. And here's what I mean. So for years, I hated the insurance industry. Like, I would never, ever go into the insurance industry, right? And then suddenly, out of nowhere, there was this desire to do insurance sales, right? And I did the exam and everything, and I was successful, and I thought, yeah, I like this thing now. I really began to like it. But then there was a shift again, because what happened was, how I was trained was that, I needed to get some information. I needed to be prying into the client's personal life to go really deep. And for me, that felt so super invasive, and I just couldn't do it. Like, for me, and this is personal, like, I did not want to be the one prying about, how much money you're making, what are you doing with it? Like it felt just so personal, and I backed out because of that. Like, yeah. So
I
I need a mindset shift, like 100%.
Well, and it's interesting because I also come from the insurance industry. So,
Mhm.
long story short, and I've got several books. If you guys want to hear my whole story, definitely go check them
Yes.
out on Amazon. But I came from the insurance industry, and what I learned is that you're right. It is kind of an invasive conversation. There's kind of some things that depending on what you're selling. I was more on the home and auto side, but I did work on life and health as well. And so there are some times where you have to ask those hard questions. And what I would challenge you to think about is, in your own life, would you agree that oftentimes the biggest changes and the most growth happened after someone asked you the hard questions?
Absolutely, Drewbie.
And so
Absolutely.
what I remind, sales professionals is that it is, again, our duty to be willing to ask those hard, uncomfortable questions, because it is those things that unlock that next level, that next shift, that mindset, that growth. And so to me, I call them pre-qualifying questions. It's kind of part of my sales process and framework. Is if you're asking the right questions, the person you're speaking to, they're going to tell you everything that you need to know in order to say, yes, you're a great fit for this product or service that I offer, or no, from the sounds of it, there's no way that we're going to be able to work together. And so I'd rather just save you the time, energy, and effort and say that I can't solve your problem. However, I may know someone who can. Let me introduce you if you're interested. And so if you can quickly run through those 5 or 6 questions that you need to ask during every call, what you do is you learn how to ask them in a way that's more about genuinely understanding where the person is versus just saying, "Hey, I need to ask you these questions so I can know how much to charge you." And that's what it probably felt like to you at some point. I mean, is that fair to say?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And it paid my heart. All right, we want to talk about, we're going to make this practical, right? So I'm going to give practical examples. I'm being very vulnerable right here.
Come
So
on.
we're talking about how to crush sales in 2025, even if you hate cold calls. And you'll hear it soon enough in the community connection segment. We're going to be talking about this cruise that I'm doing. And I have been like targeting, instead of what I normally do, put it on social media and everything, I'm individually targeting, persons strategically to be on the cruise, not just mass marketing, and also corporate as well. And I
Mhm.
want to know how to crush those sales to full my cruise.
I like it. All right, so let's be very tactical, right? Let's start with the
Yes,
basics.
yes.
Everything in sales starts with, who am I speaking to and why? So to me, when I'm thinking about a new offer, a new product or service, first and foremost, I need to know, who is it for and why do they even care about it?
Mhm.
And importantly, are they even aware that they have this problem or that this product or service exists?
So
Because
let's
this is,
talk that through. So let's talk it through,
yeah,
right? So catering to women, targeting women leaders, so executives, entrepreneurs, women who are in positions of leadership. A few men, because we can all speak to the converted, right? We need
sure.
um so right, and it's for those women who they need to definitely level up. They need personal development, but at the same time, they also need some fun because they've been going really, really hard, and they just need to take a break, take a step back. And I think too, they also feel guilty of just upping and going on a cruise because there's so much to be done. But then when it's merged with a personal development element and also that fun time, fine dining and the pool, the water parks, whatever it is, right? All of that. So we're combining all of that. So that's the who and that's the why.
I love that. And also I find it interesting that you have people who are extremely go-getter, entrepreneurial, and also they're fighting their willingness to take time off because they know that if they take time off, then everything's going to fall apart, right? That's the mindset that people go into of like, I can't go on a cruise, I can't go on a trip. It's because they don't know what their time is truly worth, and
Mhm.
that's why they're not investing it in an area that's getting them the biggest return on that investment. And in some cases, going on that cruise may not be the best investment of their time, energy, and effort in this season. So that's where when you're making your call, right? So I'm going to run you through my calls framework because this all kind of flows together and I think it'll be very tactical. So C, the first part of this framework, calls, is confirm the reason you're having a conversation. So first and foremost, if you're going to be reaching out to someone, you really got to make sure that you are intentional, right? And they're busy, they don't want to waste their time, and you certainly don't want to waste your time. So first of all, are they cold traffic or warm traffic leads? Are these people that you know that like already have a familiarity, or they completely have no idea who you are?
So they are very, very, they've attended my events before, or, they know of my work and stuff. So very familiar.
Very familiar. Awesome.
Hot to warm. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's do hot to warm first, and then we'll lean on the cold too, because I want to give you both aspects of understanding. So if they're already a warm lead, then you should, to some degree, if you've been genuine in your rapport building, already know a little bit about them. And so after we've confirmed the reason we're having a conversation, hey, Jenny, I'm reaching out because I know you've attended a couple of my courses and you may or may not have seen that we have this cruise coming up. And I just wanted to see if that's something you have any level of interest in. Plain and simple. And they're going to tell you, yeah, I would love to go, but, right? And then it goes into the objections or the reasons that they are justifying that they can't go. Or they're going to say, yeah, I saw it, but I'm not interested. And so if they tell me they're not interested, I'm going to say, hey, I totally appreciate it. We've always got different events going on. So as long as it's okay with you, I'll definitely keep you in the loop for the others. However, I'd be curious, do you know anyone who may want to go on the cruise with us? Because we have a great referral program too. So if you send anyone our way, I'd be happy to make it worth your time. Because a no doesn't mean a no forever. And just because it's not for them doesn't mean they don't know someone who it might be for that would want to talk to you. So never give up right away, right? That's a big one. And then, so let's say that they are interested, but then they have their objections. Well, now you have to start going into the second part of that, which is A, asking the right questions. And so that would be kind of the transition for your warm leads. Now let's go back and think about cold leads, right? Because I don't want to skip over that because that's kind of the overarching theory of how to crush sales in 2025, even if you hate cold calling, because nobody really likes cold calling, myself included. I try not to do it if possible. I always like to work warm inbound leads, but it's not always possible. And so if you're going to be doing cold outreach, it's again important to understand who are we speaking to and why, and then what quickly can you help them understand the value would be for them to be a part of the conversation. So, hey, Heneka, this is Drewbie over at Call the Damn Leads. I'm reaching out because we're seeing amazing entrepreneurs like yourself have massive success after attending one of our events, and I'd just be curious if you'd heard about them at all. Because I don't want to invite them right away. I just want to know, have they heard about our events? No, I haven't heard about them. Oh, well, we do them once a quarter, once a year. Typically, we have 200-300 people, right? I'm just going to give them a little bit of the information that gets them curious. And then I'm going to let them ask, well, tell me more about this. Or, hey, I'm busy right now. No problem. When would be a better time for me to give you a call back? Thursday at 1 or Friday at 3? Right? I'm going to just kind of proceed the conversation. I'm going to get permission to follow up if necessary. Because again, I'm interrupting their day. It's a cold thing. Like they weren't planning on this. So I have to be very strategic and careful about that rapport and that initial relationship building. So now we get to a conversation. Let's move into A, asking the right questions. So we have C for confirm the reason you're speaking. A, ask the right questions. And so with these questions, again, anyone who's in sales who has a product or service, and insurance is a great example of this, we all know there's a handful of things we need to ask to be able to run that quote, to get the information that we need to provide them some level of information about how we can help. And so top ones are typically, are you aware that you had this problem? How long have you been thinking about solving the problem? Do you have a budget in mind? Is there a timeline that you'd like to get this taken care of in, right? These are all just very surface level questions. But when it comes to like insurance per se, it's like, oh, totally understand. We all have home and auto insurance. That's kind of the most popular stuff. But some people have boats and motorcycles and all kinds of different toys. And maybe you have expensive jewelry that you would want to make sure is protected. Is that stuff that rings a bell? Do you, what rings or what keys are on the key ring? Because every one of those keys represents some sort of product or something that can be protected. including your life, right? You have, your cell phone, that can be protected. You got your own life, that can be protected. Your health, there's all these different things that need protected. And so it's our job to ask the right questions to understand, A, how aware of the problem are these individuals? And B, do they actually want to solve the problem? Because Heneka, we've probably both talked to a lot of people that say, yeah, I've got this problem. I totally understand. I need to do this thing and blah, 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 blah. But then they don't actually want to solve it.
True.
Right. So, and so if we're asking these questions, again, if we're asking the right questions, you're probably going to get one of two people. You're going to get someone that gives you a very short one word or, one sentence answer. Boom, boom, boom. Like, you got to have a lot of questions lined up and some things to be able to fill that space. Or you're going to get the person where you ask one question and they just start spilling their whole life to you. And at that point, it is your job to start L in the framework, which is listening intently. It's funny, there's that cliche, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And it's a funny cliche, but it's true. The more you listen, the more you learn. And the more you learn about these individuals, A, the more they appreciate the fact that you're listening to the thing they have to say, because sales is as much therapy as it is actually selling. And B, they're likely to tell you all the stuff that you need to do so that when they start coming up with those objections later, you can go back to the conversation and say, well, Mr. Jones, you mentioned that it's really important to you that if something does happen, your family is protected and they get to keep this home forever. And so I just want to make sure that that's exactly, that's your goal, right? Is if something happens to you, this home stays in the family forever. Okay, cool. I appreciate you confirming that for me. Tell me a little bit more about your family, that you're just going to run through that. And if you're listening to all the things that they're telling you, you're going to reach a point where you realize, yes, this is a great fit and I can totally help. So the only thing you have to do from there is the second L, which is lay out the plan for success. Because if you know everything you need to know, at that point, you're literally, it's not even a sales pitch. It's just explaining expectations. Awesome. Heneka, here's what's going to happen when you sign up for us. We're going to go through the documents. We're going to fill this out. You're going to sign it. We're going to send notices to your previous company so that they don't keep charging you for your coverages, or, you're going to have a life insurance exam and they're going to come out to the house and you're going to do X, Y, and Z. And then once all of that's done, here's what's going to happen. And here's the peace of mind that you get to leave here with. Does that sound like something you'd like to set up today?
I love that framework that you did, that you just ran us through. Call the damn leads.
That's it. And so here's the most important part, though. This is the one that I think a lot of people get a little nervous of, and this is where I think this is an important part for the listener. There's an S on the end of calls because you have to secure the bag. Because I don't care how great you are at building rapport and asking these questions, you still have to get them to sign on the line and pay the bill. Because I've met a lot of people who are really great at getting to that point, but getting someone to actually sign the contract and move forward, they struggle with. So don't forget about that part. You got to secure the bag. At the end of the day, all of those things all lead to you signing the contract and getting paid. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it's time now for me to move into the community connection segment. And then we're going to pick up with you, leaving your final thoughts, wrapping this up, bring it all home. So, as you know, my listener, my peak performer, it is time for the community connection segment. And guess what? This is where you get to leave your comments, your feedback, your reviews. You just share questions or whatever it is that you'd like to communicate with me, with the rest of the audience, the peak performance community, and share what you want to share. Ask the question you want to ask. I also want to share with you today, as I've been sharing with you over the last couple of weeks, about the upcoming Leadership Cruise. Don't you think that's a cute name? Really, really cute play on words right there, right? So where leaders like yourself can network and grow aboard Royal Caribbean's Liberty of the Seas. This 5-day event combines empowerment with transformative learning against the stunning, very stunning, I've been there, backdrop of the Bahamas. Contact me at Heneka at HenekaWatkis-Porter.com or WhatsApp 876-849-2571 for more details. And believe me, spaces are filling up, but there's more. There is more space for you, okay? So don't wait on it, it's too late. This is happening in November of this year, November 2025. And that's our community connection segment. Drewbie, Drewbie Wilson. Oh my gosh, I have been really, really enjoying our conversation on sales, being a little vulnerable, making it really, real practical for you or community. So I'm going to ask you, Drewbie, for your final thoughts. Take it home for us as we've been talking about crushing sales in 2025 and beyond, I'm sure.
I appreciate the opportunity. And again, I think for me, the most important takeaway for the listener is to understand time, energy, and effort are the only things you cannot get back. You can't go back in time and put more effort into the project than the day that you did it. And so when you start to understand that those things are valuable and you're investing them and you're using them in the wisest and most intentional way, it doesn't matter. The money will come. I promise you. When you're focused on your time, energy, and effort going to serving the others and helping the people around you, you will start making more money. And the money will only like grow who you are as a person. So if you're a good person, it's going to make you awesome. If you're a not so good person, more money is not going to make you any better. It's just going to lead you to having more opportunity. So being intentional about time, energy, and effort is the thing that will change the game for you. And it's going to start with your mindset. Because I promise you, 4 a.m. alarms and getting up early and reading books and doing all the things, calling 100 people a day, it's not always the most fun. It's not always sexy. It doesn't always leave you feeling like you're, the best in the world. Sometimes you have to go through days and weeks of rejection and understand that, hey, the way that I'm doing this isn't working. And I can either keep beating my head against the wall or I can choose to step out of that. I can seek mentors. I can listen to podcasts like this amazing show right here. You can do whatever it is you want to do in your life if you're willing to invest your time, energy, and effort in more intentional ways. And so my final thought is this. Keep listening to shows like this. Share them with your friends and family and coworkers or whoever you think could get value out of it, because when you're pouring into the cups of those around you, you're just making room for people to pour into your cup. And I promise you, the people that you see as leaders, that you see as successful, they're looking for cups to pour into because they run the same mentality of giver's game. Because when you're pouring into that cup and you're making room in yours, there's other people watching. And there's always someone higher than you that wants to pour value out because they're trying to grow too. So start thinking that way, start living that way, and I promise your life will get better.
All right, the mentality of the giver's game. I like it. I like it. Drewbie, how might my community get in touch with you?
Best thing they can do would be share this specific episode on social media. Facebook, Instagram, whatever, tag at Call the Damn Leads. That's going to do two things. One, it's going to let Heneka know that you appreciate how much time, energy, and effort she pours into making this show for you. It's going to let me know that you spent a little bit of your time with us today and got some value out of the show. And then B, if I own a company named Call the Damn Leads and you tag us on social media, we're for sure going to follow up with you. So we will definitely reach out. You can always go to callthedamnleads.com, check out my books, our store. We've got hats, keychains, swag, all kinds of fun stuff. But more than anything, I really hope the listener just takes some time out of their day to send this to someone they think will get value out of it, because that's going to make all of us winners.
All right, so you can reach Drewbie Wilson at Call the Damn Leads on social and callthedamnleads.com. Now it's time for Trending Now. Did you know that companies using AI in sales see a 50% increase in lead generation, but close rates drop drastically without human follow-up? In an era where data is abundant but action is scarce, clearly Drewbie's approach reminds us why personal connection still wins. Thank you so much again, Drewbie Wilson, for sharing your insights with us today. I truly, truly, truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I hope you crush the day before it crushes you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And for you, my peak performer, if you want more actionable sales advice or training, connect with Drewbie on social at Call the Damn Leads, as we said before, or visit his website at callthedamnleads.com. And if this episode resonated with you, you heard Drewbie, don't keep it to yourself. Please share it, but also subscribe to the Entrepreneurial You, leaving us a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Sharing is caring, right? So just share it with someone who needs a little push, a little extra push to take some action. Remember, success isn't about perfection. It's about showing up every single day, okay? Affirm with me. I take bold action because my success starts when I show up. Do take care. And thank you so much to our sponsors, to the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and of course, HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. Do take care. Walk good.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Robbie Samuels hosts the On the Schmooze podcast. Robbie, tell listeners what to expect from the show.
Since 2015, I've interviewed entrepreneurs who overcame challenges to achieve success in their field or industry. Tune in to On the Schmooze to listen as I ask deep questions to elicit untold stories about leadership and networking.
And where can people subscribe?
Find the show at ontheschmooze.com or on marketingpodcast.net, or just search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard them. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.